Good evening. This is ATN's Global News. First, the headlines. A member of SDP, Senator Magnus Abe, says that legal practitioners give varying perspectives on Enibehe Ifyong's case. Reps demand detailed contract agreement between NNPC companies involved in crude oil lifting. Beyonce Urban Renaissance, a dance floor hit with critics. Russia and Ukraine blame each other over prison explosion. Once again, good evening and welcome to ATN's Global News. I am Victor RK. Former representative of Rivers Southeast Senatorial District at the National Assembly, Senator Magnus Nge Abe, has said that he is a member of the Social Democratic Party and very committed to the growth of internal democracy in the politics of Nigeria. Abe, in a statement he personally signed and posted on his Facebook page, said such ideals have driven his style of politics over the years. The statement reads in part, "Yes, I am and have been a member of the Social Democratic Party. I remain irrevocably committed to the ideals that have driven my politics through the years, and will continue to do all we can do to improve internal democracy in the politics of our country and focus on the people." An Uyo-based lawyer, Barrister Sam Ikpo, said Enibehe Ifyong's unlawful conduct at the court amounts to contempt of court.
We wouldn't want to go to the merit or demerit of who did what and who did not do what. We would rather want to look at a situation where we can resolve. We are coming out with a press release by today because we needed to gather facts. We didn't want to just rush into giving a release to either take sides here, take sides with A or take sides with B. We are very neutral in this matter, and we are actually looking for how the legal profession could develop. The legal profession is a very conservative profession, even though we have radical elements like us who are in it, but we're not rascals. There's a difference between radicalism and rascality. And the court is governed by laws and rules, and every lawyer knows the rules. If you don't follow the rules, you'll be sanctioned. But we are saying that some sanctions could be very harsh, even though it's meant to help us to purge ourselves of whatever mischief or whatever error the court may have discovered. But we are saying that a middle-of-the-road approach should be followed. We are looking at a conciliatory. We are aligning ourselves with the MBA, both national and the state, and the branch here, that we should follow conciliatory moves. Because if you say you are going on appeal now, Enibehe might be there till about October, November. The Court of Appeal is not in session. So we can only appeal to the conscience of the Chief Judge. I must confess and say that the Chief Judge is well-schooled, very clement, very, very understanding. But I think it is based on previous provocation that what happened. But like I said, I'm not looking at the merit or demerit of this matter. We're not taking it on its merit, we're rather appealing. If one of us is said to be a child that has soiled himself, we should just bat him, throw away the dirty bathwater and take our own. Enibehe has a thriving practice in this country, and he's been representing a couple of persons who don't have a voice. and we don't want a minus that you are subtracting him from the fold of those who are already doing this. We have fewer lawyers who are representing the people almost for free. Fewer lawyers, because lawyers must be paid. And this thing that is happening, I just hope we are able to resolve it on time. The bar chairman and the Uyoba is suing for peace. Inibe is not a member of the branch here, of the Uyo branch of the bar. But immediately the bar heard it, the chairman of the bar rose up and said, no, we must see the CJ. Let's hear her what exactly happened. And we heard the CJ that day. The CJ side of the story is not very favorable to the cause of Inibe. And Inibe's side of the story is not also very favorable for the CJ. That's why I was saying, please, let us maintain calm, the status quo antebellum, and then do everything we can to ensure that the sanctity of the court is not destroyed. We respect the court, and the court must also respect the bar.
Barrister Clifford Thomas, National Coordinator, Akwa Ibom State Human Rights Community, said Nigerian Bar Association and other lawyers have already embarked on reconciliation moves towards releasing the human rights activists from the correctional facility. It will be recalled that Akwa Ibom State Chief Judge Justice Ekaite Obot on Wednesday sent Lagos-based human rights activist Inebehi Effiong to prison for 1 month for allegedly being rude while in court. Barrister Effiong was appearing as counsel for Leo Epeyong, who is being dragged to the court by Governor Odom Emmanuel over alleged defamation. In a statement signed by the Chief Press Secretary of the Governor, Onyebuchi Ememanka in Aba, it states that Governor Okeze Ikpeazu of Abia has approved the release of 450 million naira as salary support to the State Polytechnic for immediate payment of 4 months salary arrears. This followed the withdrawal of Abia Polytechnic's accreditation by the National Board for Technical Education over non-payment of 30-month salaries. Speaking in an interview on ATN Society Watch on Friday, a lecturer of the Rivers State University, Professor Patrick, said the MBTE, due to their regulatory rights, have rights to close programs, not close down schools. Speaking further, the lecturer also noted that salary non-payment is a labor issue and the MBTE does not have rights to shut down schools for labor issues. Only lecturers possess such rights.
Here, one is salary payment. The other is closure of a polytechnic. Yeah. There is no connect between salary non-payment, which is entirely a labor issue, and the closure of a school by MBTE. We must also understand the status of MBTE. Their role is to regulate the polytechnics across the country, ensure that they have facilities for all the programs, they have a better recruitment process, they have better ratio of students to teachers, and for all these things helps for better academics. That's the role of MBTE. However, if the polytechnic deviates in this criteria, then what MBTE has to do at the moment is close the programs, not close the school. They have rights as a regulator to close the programs that are affected. Programs that don't have facilities, programs that do not have the required manpower, and the programs contents that is not in tandem with MBTE regulation. They have right to do that, but they do not have the right to close down a school.
Now,
however,
okay,
the polytechnic community, the teachers themselves, has the right to withdraw their services. Haven't stayed over how many months without payment? So what were they waiting for all this while? They should have just closed down the school so that they give a signal to government that you're not performing, you're doing well. And there is a contradiction here between what Ekweazu is saying and the position of the polytechnic. Ekweazu is saying that yes, he allows them freedom to collect fees. He gives them freedom to recruit. And these are requirements of MBTE. If you don't have good teachers, they query it. They also have to, yes, look at this. Are they being paid? But they cannot close down a school for that labor issue. What they need to do, what they will do is to call the attention of the administrator of the school and say, these are the things you need to do. So that's where we have a small confusion here. MBT, just like what the governor is saying, is right to say that they don't have right to close down a school on account of what? Salaries. But lecturers have the right to close down their services because of salary.
Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has revealed how former Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, cornered government money. The agency said he compromised the Treasury Single Account, Government Integrated Financial Management, Information System, and the Integrated Payroll System and Personal Information System. Idris and his co-defendants, Godfrey Olusegun Akindele and Mohammed Kudu Usman, are standing trial in a 109.5 billion naira fraud. They were arraigned before Justice A.O. Adeyemi Ajayi of the Federal Capital Territory High Court in Matama, Abuja. On Thursday, Chief Investigative Officer and Prosecution Witness 1, PW1 Hayatu Suleiman Ahmed, was led in evidence by the prosecuting counsel Rotimi Jacobs San. Ahmed, an EFCC chief superintendent, told the court that the investigation showed that Idris allegedly used stolen funds to construct the Gazawa Exchange Limited, Gazawa Integrated Farms, and Kano City Mall. Delta State Governor and Vice Presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Ifeanyi Okowa, has congratulated Most Reverend Daniel Oko on his election as the President of the Christian Association of Nigeria. The General Assembly of the association on Thursday formally validated the election of Oko as its new president after garnering 100% votes of the 259 delegates at the 12th General Assembly of the association. And a congratulatory message contained in a statement by his chief press secretary, Mr. Olisa Ife Ajika, in Asaba on Friday, Okowa also commended the Christian community in Nigeria for the peaceful conduct of the convention, saying that it reflected the promotion of peace and unity which they preached. He noted that Nigerians were facing diverse economic and security challenges and urged the new CAN president to mobilize all citizens to collectively intercede for our country as we take practical and actionable steps to rescue Nigeria. He called on Oko to champion the crusade of religious tolerance in the country and build bridges in that regard. On behalf of the government and people of Delta, I congratulate Most Reverend Daniel Oko on his election as President of the Christian Association of Nigeria. Abubakar Abdul Salam, father of the 5-year-old pupil murdered by her teacher, Hanifa Abubakar, has expressed happiness that the little Hanifa got justice from the court. Abdul Salam, who made the remark while speaking with Atlantic Television Network in reaction to the court judgment that sentenced the killer, Tanko Abdul Malik, and his accomplice, Hashimu Ishiaku, to death by hanging. He also commended the court for the judgment. I'm happy that Hanifa, my daughter, has gotten justice. We appreciate everyone's effort in this case. Justice has been well served. Abdul Salam stated. Atlantic Television Network reported that Hanifa was kidnapped sometime in December 2021 by her proprietor. News Agency of Nigeria reported that some online sites allege that thugs invaded Lagos Church carted away with CVR machines. Reacting to the development, INEX Public Relations Officer in Lagos State, Mrs. Adenike Oriowo, told NAN that though the exercise was disrupted because of the surge, no machine was stolen. There were issues in the said CVR center, but orderliness were restored and the exercise continued smoothly. We have moved the registration in that center to another polling unit in the area, and our officials have continued the registration. People should be patient. We shall register as many people as possible. If people continue to disrupt the process, the opportunity to register more people before the deadline will be interrupted. Our commitment is to register as many people as possible, and we will try to do so within the limited time, the INEX spokesperson said. Oriowo, who frowned at the last-minute rush by many applicants, said the exercise had been on since June 2021, and many people did not take advantage but waited till the deadline. The federal government has reaffirmed its commitment to the fight against money laundering and terrorism financing. The Minister of Interior, Rauf Areboshola made this known on Friday in Abuja at the inauguration of a 10-member interministerial committee set up to implement the adoption and implementation of the assigned roles to the ministry. This, he said, was based on the Financial Action Task Force implementation roadmap adopted by the federal government. Areboshola added that a great deal of the security challenges facing the country in recent time could be attributed to the activities of economic saboteurs who indulged in illegal financial dealings to the detriment of the country. Let me reiterate the federal government's unflinching commitment to the eradication of money laundering, financing of terrorism, and related corrupt practices. This has made us willing and active partners with other African and indeed global partners in this advocacy and fight. Areboshola said that some of the security challenges facing the country at the moment can be resolved in the financial lifeline of the actors we are cut off. Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde has barred all former private sector participants from engaging in any form of refuse evacuation in the state. This directive was issued by the governor in his newsletter dated July 28, 2022. Speaking on the new waste management architecture in Oyo, Makinde said the authorities are aware that some disengaged PSPs had continued to work within the state. He warned that they should desist from further encroaching on the activities of the new waste managers. Makinde said, "We are aware that some private sector participants who have been disengaged by the state are still evacuating waste from some residential and commercial areas. Let me use this medium to warn them to desist from the further encroaching on the activities of the new solid waste managers." You are watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We'll return shortly after this break.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-the-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, social economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Welcome back. This is the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. Now to the rest of our stories. The Katsina State Resident Electoral Commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Alhaji Jibril Zarewa, has blamed the initial low number of registered voters in Katsina State on the suspension of telecommunication services in 17 local government areas due to insecurity. Zarewa made the claim while addressing journalists in the state at the INEC office on Thursday. The shutdown of the telecommunication services, he said, was part of the moves by security operatives to clamp down on bandits in the state following the incessant attacks recorded in the area. Zarewa noted that as a result of the suspension of telecommunication services in the 17 local government areas, over half of the state's population could not access the continued voters registration exercise. The Minister of State for Finance, Budget and National Planning, Prince Clem Abba, yesterday said that Nigeria has made impressive progress since joining the Open Government Partnership Initiative in 2016. Briefing newsmen in Abuja, Abba disclosed that at the sub-national level of OGP, 23 out of 36 states of the Federation, including Abuja Municipal Area Council, have joined the OGP initiative. Our Abuja correspondent Inoma Omeje completes the story.
The Minister of State for Finance, Budget and National Planning, Prince Clem Abba, has said that Nigeria has made impressive progress since joining the Open Government Partnership Initiative.
Since joining the OGP initiative in 2016, Nigeria has continued to champion ambitious reforms that reflect government's cardinal focus of eradicating corruption and entrenching transparency and accountability across the public sector. Government and non-state actors have co-created 2 national action plans in that period. The implementation timeline for the second NAP is almost coming to an end, and the development of a third NAP is in top gear.
On the achievements of the OGP initiative, the minister said that the country has made giant strides in the global beneficiary ownership transparency space, adding that in the last 2 years, President Muhammadu Buhari has signed into law the Allied Matters Amendment Act and the Petroleum Industrial Act that will deepen the push for beneficiary ownership transparency and accountability.
Our dear country has made giant strides in the global beneficiary ownership transparency space. In the last 2 years, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari has signed into law the Company and Allied Matters Amendment Act 2020 and the Petroleum Industry Act 2021. These are 2 landmark legislations that will deepen the push for beneficial ownership transparency and accountability.
The Chief Executive Officer, Open Government Partnership, Sanjay Prada, lauded Nigeria on their immense contribution and performance to member organizations, advocating for more reforms and institutionalization of OGP in the country.
I've been in Nigeria several times since, probably more than any of the other 77 countries in OGP. That tells you the affection and regard we have for Nigeria as a member of our partnership. But coming now, 6 years later, some months before the elections, we have 2 broad overarching messages and purposes. We wanted to take stock of what has been accomplished in the last 6 years. And I want to report back to you our reflections. So the first set of reflections is that Nigeria has truly been an excellent performer in the Open Government Partnership. And I can tell you that quite sincerely, Nigeria has performed very well in the Open Government Partnership and is indeed a leader in a few key areas. That doesn't mean there isn't significant scope to do more and to improve, which I'll come to. That's my second overarching message. But I do want to begin by very sincerely acknowledging the progress made. And let me just
Speaking with the media, the Executive Director, African Center for Leadership and Development, Monday Ososa, restated the government efforts in co-creation and building trust that will aid the fight against corruption in Nigeria.
And the whole idea is to deepen the fight against corruption. And OGP comes with the principle of co-creation. What that means, both government and citizens will be working together. And of course, if government and citizens are working together, it will also deal with the issue of trust, issue of one party doing something and the other person is not aware. So that alone will elicit more citizen cooperation.
Federal, citizens are not part of it, the basic just money stocks coming, citizens will go.
The People's Democratic Party, caucus of the House of Representatives, has backed their colleagues in the Senate over the call for the impeachment of the President Muhammadu Buhari. In a joint meeting on Thursday, the PDP lawmakers said the state of the country was appalling and therefore issued a 6 to 8 weeks ultimatum to the president to solve the numerous challenges of the country or risk being impeached. Reacting to this, speaking in an interview on Atlantic Television Network on Friday, an analyst, Dr. C.A.J. Chinwo, said the insecurity issues has called for an alarm because threats are in the settlements of the lawmakers, majority and minority Senate leaders. Dr. Chinwo also added that the President Muhammadu Buhari is uninterested in the affairs and happenings in the country. He also noted that the President pays zero attention to the security crisis bedeviling the nation.
There are young soldiers who are just being killed in Abuja by terrorists who threaten they will attack law school and other places. That same day, the president is entering plane to go to another nation. It's never done. Other nations, you will see that other nations, the presidents, even United States president, will cancel his trip where he's abroad. He will cancel his trip and return home. Because attacking the national capital, what else do you want? But that same day, our president felt comfortable enough to travel. So it's showing that he's not interested, and it's not the first time. I mean, there was a time again when there was an attack in Plateau State, and the president was celebrating wedding in Kano. So he's not interested. The speech, his condolence speech or the consolation is always ready. Either Femi Adesina is bringing it out, or Shehu Garba. You know, I assure you are going to be on top of the situation. The government, all those people will face the law. It ends there.
The management of Nigerian Ports Authority has secured approval for the designation of Lekki Deep Sea Port as customs port and approval of. This is in line with the promise of ensuring the operational takeoff for berthing of commercial vessels at the Lekki Deep Sea Port before the end of the year 2022. The MPA had written a letter through the Ministry of Transportation seeking expedite presidential approval for the port to be gazetted as customs port and approved of in line with the requirements of the law. With this approval granted, all is set for commercial vessels from across the world to berth and clear cargo at Nigeria's first deep sea port and first fully automated port. The National Senior Citizens Center has officially declared open its head office in Wuse 2, Abuja, to strengthen its operation and enhance mandate delivery. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Department, Hajiya Sadiya Farouk, lauded the effort of the Director General, Dr. M.M. Omokaro, in maintaining key mandates and care for senior citizens across the country. Our Abuja correspondent, Inyoma Omeje, tells us more.
The National Senior Citizens Center on Thursday officially opens its head office in Abuja to strengthen its operations and enhance delivery. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Department, Hajiya Sadiya Farouk, during the opening ceremony of the head office in Abuja, lauded the efforts of the Director General, Imam Omokaro, saying that the center had come a long way and done so much, delivering on its key mandate and care for all senior citizens across the country.
The center is 3 years into existence because they are moving at a very, very fast speed, and you can see within 1 year they've done so much, even in terms of their administrative procedures, the policies, and what have you. They've held so many workshops or seminars, operating under a very tight atmosphere, but now that they have a befitting office, I'm sure they will do more, in discharging their responsibilities, in living up to the mandate given to them. So I'm very, very impressed. I'm very glad that with the level of work put in place, and I'm sure they will do more.
Hajiya Sadiya Farouk also restated the commitment of the government in giving the ministry every needed support, declaring open the head office of NNCC for all its operations for Nigeria and all senior citizens.
This is a center that is to cater for all the senior citizens. It's a center that will bring them under the same umbrella, a center that will support them, that will train them, I will give them all the necessary assistance so that they also have a sense of belonging as people who have served this country during their productive years.
Norma Omeje, ATN News, Abuja.
The states and the local government and align our services with those services.
Speaking with the press, the DG emphasized the need to equip stakeholders and partners to enhance their understanding on aging to effectively persuade the old on their rights in Nigeria.
It is our place to enhance their understanding of aging, not only to enhance their understanding of aging, but for them to know the stakes of having a state policy and domesticating the National Senior Citizen Center Act. We are sharing the vision and the mission, the strategies of the National Senior Citizen Center. We are also sharing priority areas, and then of course our action plan and all the things that we are already doing in the states. And we want there to be a promotion of the linkage, a promotion and maintenance of linkage between the National Senior Citizen Center, the states and the local government. By older persons as bona fide right holders deserve to have their challenges articulated into a policy, and also deserve to have, a legislation Because once you have a policy and a legislation, you now have the institutional frameworks to do whatever you need to do to coordinate.
On investment on older persons as a means to enhance job creation, Dr. Emem Omokaro said that older persons have diverse and unique skills that are always left untapped because of lack of recognition and acceptance by younger generation.
Older persons are a diverse population. Within that population, you have business owners. Within that population, you have, though in the informal sector, you have persons that are manning their, for instance, if you stay a bit longer, you will see the display of indigenous arts, indigenous crafts by older persons, because they have come with videos, because that was one of their assignments. Come with, at least from each state, come with 3 indigenous crafts, manned by older people. Make a presentation. Tell us about the older person, tell us about the location, tell us about the processes of making the craft, the raw material, is it gotten in the community, the challenges, because we intend to empower older persons that are in making indigenous crafts. So yes, in that regard, if you financially include them and you upskill and then you build their capacity, they can produce some more, and we intend to incentivize youth to join, because most of these indigenous crafts, as wonderful, as beautiful as they are dying out. And these are money spinners because they're indigenous and they're beautiful. So that's what we are doing. So on that part, if you build their capacity and encourage them and bring microcredits, they will make more money.
Norma Omeje, ATN News, Abuja.
Servants in the state over the disappearance of 3 suspects standing trial. They are Adenigba Olushola, a staff of the State Judicial Service Commission, and Bisiru Abdul Fatai, a staff of the State Universal Basic Education Board. They stood as sureties for 3 suspects being investigated by the Ilorin Zonal Commander, the Ilorin Zonal Command of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, for internet fraud-related offenses. They incurred the wrath of the law for their failure to produce the 3 suspects for trial. Adeniba stood as surety for one Amechi Omenye and Adeyemi Adedeji, while Bisiru stood for Dawudu Olusoji. The 2 civil servants had made an undertaking to produce the defendants, who are now at large each time they were needed by the anti-graft agency. The House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee probing the subsidy regime from 2017 to 2021 has urged all companies who signed agreement with the Nigerian National Petroleum Companies (NNPC) on the direct sale, direct purchase of crude oil to refined product to submit all relevant and detailed documents to its committee on Wednesday. Chairman of the House Ad Hoc, Mr. Al Mustafa Aliyu, made the call during an investigative hearing on subsidy regime. Honorable Aliyu also directed that NNPC to provide the profiles the companies with the Corporate Affairs Commission to the Ad Hoc Committee to ascertain the merit to handle contract deal. Also present at the hearing was the Nigerian Navy, represented by Rear Admiral Emmanuel Oganle, in company of the Director, Marine Services of Nigerian Navy. Briefing the committee on the role of the Navy, the representative said their record is based on information provided by NNPC, explaining that Nigerian Navy authenticates and ascertain vessels coming into the Nigerian waterways.
I'm sure you must have done the necessary due diligence, investigations to undercover the unknown. You should be able to know who the owner of the vessel is and the quantity of the refined AQ in the vessel. And then the reason for the arrest, you say illegally refined AQ, is as if you have confirmed the offense, the product that is illegally refined. And then what parameter do you use to now set that vessel free? You see, this is the format of your reporting. Line by line, if you take it this way, you see a lot of questions to ask. And I think that does not make a good report.
So it's important to know that this is not intended to indict anyone. but we need to obtain the correct information. Now, you will see that in your presentation, like the chairman said, which is part of the motion I want to move now, we do not even know the status of the illegally refined AGO. What happened to it? You released it to the owners. You did not provide us with those records. There are some places where you did not even specify the quantity of what was stolen. You don't seem to have records of the ownership.
On when you arrest a vessel, because what is happening right now is giving this country a very bad name. We should have been talking about windfall. Do we need the money now? Very badly, like a hole in the head. So when we should be talking about windfall, OPEC has even increased our quota, we cannot meet it. This is giving the Navy a very, very bad name. That we are talking about crude oil disappearing in our waters, and yet they say we have a Navy that cannot check it. So this is the question. When you arrest a vessel, whether it's a finished product or it's crude oil, I know from your record you have sent, you mentioned to EFCC and to some other bodies. Is there a way of checking how those vessels are arrested and handed over? Because, let's be honest, I am from the Niger Delta. A whole lot of things can happen in the creeks or on the high sea. So who says a vessel laden with crude oil cannot be seized and then transaction happens there and everybody walks away and look the other way?
Other Honor Ifowodo reports that the companies that were present at the hearing include Moko Oil and Gas, Sahara Business Development, Matrix Energy, AA Rano, amongst others. The federal government yesterday admitted that Nigerians are tired of the current security challenges facing the nation. Rising from its closed-door meeting, which lasted more than 5 hours, the National Security Council acknowledged the deteriorating insecurity across the country, fueling fears among the population and making citizens to turn towards seeking self-help. The National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Monguno, who stated this while speaking with newsmen after the meeting chaired by President Muhammadu Buhari at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, however, said that government was currently working on new strategies to curtail the worsening insecurity in the country. According to him, the Security Council has agreed on new strategies to curtail the menace, assuring that there will be a renewed momentum against terrorism. Despite the government's assurance, the National Assembly yesterday moved closer to actualizing its threat to impeach President Buhari as members of the minority caucus in the House of Representatives expressed willingness to support the Senate in effecting the removal of the president. Ahead of the 2023 general and presidential elections, Northern Christians have rejected in totality the Muslim ticket of the ruling All Progressive Congress that has produced Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as the presidential candidate and Senator Kashim Shettima as the running mate, describing the action as an agenda to economically and politically marginalize Northern Christians. The decision, which was taken today at Nikon Luxury Hotel, Abuja, during the APC Northern Christians Leaders Summit in conjunction with Christians from the North, is a serious indication that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his running mate Senator Shettima Kashim would face the Herculean task convincing Christians of Northern extraction to vote for them in the 2023 poll. The Christian leaders have vowed that no Christian would vote for the present arrangement of the APC. Speaking as the chairman of the event, which has Christians drawn from the 19 northern states, former secretary to the government of the Federation, Engineer Babachiri Lawa, who noted that the Muslim ticket was an extension of the exclusion of Christians from the scheme of things in the country. However, stressed that the measure would disrupt the peace and social development of the country. He argued that the Muslim ticket remains part of the subterranean plot to Islamize the country. Flutist and ex-president of the Performing Musicians Association of Nigeria, TMAC, has disclosed that the All Progressive Congress presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not physically fit to be the next president of Nigeria in 2023. The renowned musician also claimed Tinubu, his brother-in-law, is 86-year-old, contrary to the 70 year he has been displaying in the public. Speaking in an interview on ATN's Blowout on Friday, Stephen Digbara, a political activist, has said irrespective of the alleges by TMAC, whatever Bola Ahmed Tinubu presents to the citizens as his age is what will be worked with. Stephen Digbara also added that the ex-governor's trajectories and antecedents have chances of influencing the citizens' decision of voting. Human Development Initiatives Nigeria, a non-governmental organization, has praised individuals and organizations actively involved in identifying, supporting, counseling, and seeking justice for survivors of human trafficking. This is contained in a statement signed by the Executive Director of the HDI, Mrs. Olufunso Owasanoye, and made available to newsmen on Friday in Lagos. ATN reports that Owasanoye made the commendation to mark the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. World Day Against Trafficking in Persons is commemorated on July 30th every year. According to the UN, the theme for the 2022 edition is Use and Abuse of Technology by Human Traffickers. According to Owasanoye, the theme exposes how traffickers exploit technology to perpetrate the illegitimate trade. She said that traffickers use the internet and digital platforms to deceive, exploit, and manipulate victims of trafficking. They deploy these platforms to organize transportation and shelter, contact victims, and reach out to potential clients while establishing intractable networks for the proliferation of their criminal trade. Technology has been exploited, among other things, to communicate with a ring of other perpetrators and hide criminal proceeds with greater speed, effectiveness, and anonymity. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, has charged the Independent National Electoral Commission to replicate the success recorded in the INEC candidate nomination portal in the 2023 general elections. PDP, in a statement by its National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologunaba, on Friday, said the technology will ensure transparent, fast, credible polling and transmission of results. The party also commended the INEC for the ICMP technology. According to the PDP, the ICMP technology allows political parties to use specified and dedicated access codes issued by the Commission to log in and electronically upload the names and particulars of their candidates onto the INEC web portal in a manner that guarantees promptness. PDP added that ICMP ensures the safety of materials as well as the integrity and transparency of the submission process. And this is the business desk. The federal government has promised to provide adequate security for the reopening of Spanish-run largest tomato factory in Nigeria, located in Kebbi. The Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, gave the reassurance when Spanish ambassador in Nigeria, Mr. Juan Ignacio Seo, paid him a courtesy visit. Mohammed reiterated the position of President Muhammadu Buhari during his recent visit to Spain that adequate protection would be given for the reopening of the factory. I am glad that Spanish investors are already making impact in Nigeria. Lai Mohammed further said that he is glad that one of the highlights of the meetings with the president in Spain was to give assurance to the Spanish food company of adequate security to come back to Kebbi State. The Atlantic Television Network reports that GB Foods, a global leader in culinary product manufacturing, in 2020 opened the 20 billion naira tomato processing factory in Kebbi State. The factory was opened in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria, Kebbi State government, and the Emirates of Yari. The factory, the only fully backward integrated plant in ECOWAS with the largest single tomatoes farm in Nigeria, was however forced to close down in March due to security concerns. The minister also thanked the ambassador for proposing a music festival for Nigerian budding musicians and a Spanish language teaching desk in the University of Lagos. He noted that Nigeria and Spain shared diversity and creativity and looked forward to deepening relations with Spain in the area of culture, tourism, and creative industry. You are watching the news on Atlantic Television Network. Over now to Abuja studios for government and public service.
Every day our lives are changed by history.
Abacha sues INEC PDP over governorship ticket. Details of the news after this break.
Every day our lives are changed by history. Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy. ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
Welcome back. Now the details. Atiku and Okowa's presidential ticket a threat to APC. The chief press secretary to Governor Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State and vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Olisa Ifejika, has said the presidential ticket of Atiku Abubakar and Senator Ifeanyi Okowa was a big threat to the All Progressive Congress in the forthcoming 2023 presidential election. Ifejika stated this while reacting to a statement credited to Tinubu in which he reportedly said his running mate was better than the man chosen by Atiku Abubakar. Mr. Ifejika tasked Tinubu to discuss issue rather than discussing individuals. He said the choice of who was a better vice presidential candidate remained with Nigerian and not for an individual to try to influence by speaking derogatively about his opponent. Moving on, Mohamed Abacha sues PDP INEC over governorship ticket. The Kano State People's Democratic Party factional governorship candidate Mohamed Sani Abacha has dragged the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC and the INEC recognized People's Democratic Party governorship candidate Sadiq Aminu Wali and the PDP, as well as the state chairman Shehu Wada Sagagi, before a federal high court in Kano. The plaintiff Abacha is asking the court to validate the primaries that elect him or produce him as the governorship candidate of the PDP and declared him the rightful candidate of the party. Abacha's originating summon was filed on Thursday and is relying on section 85 1 subsection 2 subsection 5 B1 and B2 of the Electoral Act 2022. This is the size of the package on ATN Politics for today. Remember that you can follow us on Facebook and YouTube. It's Atlantic Television Network. On Twitter, it is Atlantic TV Net. And on Instagram, it is Atlantic TV Network. Remember, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. I remain Vincent Samuel. Do have a lot.
News on Atlantic Television Network. Up next, international tidbits. In the seized part of the Donetsk region, a rocket attack killed numerous Ukrainian prisoners of war, and both Russia and Ukraine have blamed each other for the attack. Russia allegedly targeted the prison in an effort to obliterate evidence of murder and torture. According to Ukraine, Russia said that Ukrainian precision rockets has struck the Olenivka prison camp. Unconfirmed Russian video footage from the scene depicts a jumble of demolished bunk beds and severely burned victims. An advisor to President Vladimir Zelensky claimed that a missile appeared to have been used in the fire. Those detained are said to have included members of the Azov battalion, who were the last defenders of Mariupol and whom Russia has sought to depict as neo-Nazis and war criminals. Dani Benzonov, a spokesperson of the Russian-backed separatist Donetsk People's Republic, said the strike had been a direct hit on a barracks holding prisoners and the number killed might increase. While Russia's defense ministry said the strike had been carried out with U.S.-made HIMARS artillery and it accused Ukraine of a deliberately perpetrated provocation. The ministry produced fragments of what it said were rockets fired by the HIMARS system. Up next, entertainment stories. Renaissance has been described as having fierce club energy, a joyous soundtrack to a hot girl summer, and being an endless party. The Telegraph predicted it will be filling dance floors for years to come. Writer James Hall says it is a tribute to two forms of music, late 1980s and early 1990s house and disco style. It is prepared with sounds that anyone watching reruns of Top of the Pops from that era on BBC4 will be instantly familiar with. Thanking fans for not listening to a leaked version, Beyonce wrote online, "I appreciate you for calling out anyone that was trying to sneak into the club early. It means the world to me. Thank you for your unwavering support." And now to sports stories.
And welcome to the Sport Desk on ATN Global News. I am Kingsley Emmanuel. In the Commonwealth Games, the British sportswear manufacturer had to answer an impromptu call for Nigeria's Commonwealth Games team after they were left with no kits. Gino Refinatu, manager for the MG Sportswear firm, which is based in a town near Hull City, Birmingham, at first said he thought it was over for Nigerian before launching his 14th staff into action. His team had to make 200 pieces of kits, including a running vest and shorts, staff tracksuits, and even 400 Nigerian badges. Refinatu said it was difficult, but his staff had embraced the challenge. He said he would pay even keener attention to the games after providing the emergency help to the teams. And still in the Commonwealth Games, Nigerian table tennis team outside the ongoing Commonwealth Games in Birmingham today had a bright start in both the men's and the women's team event. The women's team of Effiong Fatima Bello and Esther Oreba Macy defeated their St. Vincent and the Grenadines counterpart 3-0. In their Group 1 fixtures double games, the pair of Edem and Bello defeated Velus and Combat Batch 3-0. Meanwhile, Nigerian men team were also superlative after the wiped South Africa 3-0 as well in their Group 2 fixtures. And in football, Manchester City target Corella Hens in the transfer request. And the City target marker Corella has handed in a transfer request at Brighton. The Segos have already rejected one bid from City for the defender and are understood to be holding out for a £50 million fee for the former Barcelona player. The 34-year-old left back joined Brighton from Getafe last summer. He has been identified by City manager Pep Guardiola as a replacement for Alexander Zinchenko, who left City to join Arsenal this summer. And that wraps up the sports news. I am Kingsley Emmanuel, taking you back to the news desk.
Thank you, Kingsley, for that sports story. And that's the size of the news tonight. Before we go, another look at the major stories. A member of SDP committed to internal democracy, Abe. Legal practitioners give varying perspectives on Enibehe Effiong's case. Reps demand detailed contract agreement between NNPC companies involved in crude oil lifting. Beyonce's Urban Renaissance, a dance floor hit with critics. Russia and Ukraine blame each other over prison explosion. Thanks for joining us on the Global News tonight. You can follow us on all our social media handles: Twitter at Atlantic TVNet, Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, Instagram is at Atlantic TV Network. Do remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. I am Victor Ake. Do have yourself a lovely weekend.
It's the people making the difference in our time on ATN Icons. Here, who presents you legends celebrating.
Everybody take a deep breath. Have a solution to that. What's the problem?
Everything about him is my problem. everything about him. If any
I don't say no nile.
She said more that I am the problem.
Can I ask you what is the problem in this marriage?
Would I no
I don't understand.
There's no
you mean simple communication?
Just relax and let me talk.